I'm Mikaela, and this is Love Mikaela, a podcast where I talk about literally anything and everything I want to. Today, I wanted to talk about a K-drama that I watched a little bit ago, and it is called A Love So Beautiful. I was drawn to this K-drama. It had been on my list for a while. The episodes are short. They're like 30-ish minutes each. I think less than that, to be honest, like 20-something minutes. I needed something to watch while I worked out and something to watch on my own that I could watch when my mom was sick because I needed something to watch. And I wanted something like short and sweet, and I was kind of reeling from the loss of finishing True Beauty, so I was trying to find something kind of similar to that. So this is what I came across, and it's not similar. It's not. They're both K-drama rom-coms about people in school, like they're about like young teenagers. That's the similarities. That's kind of it. But it was good. It was still good. So I wanted to talk about it. So I'm gonna give a little synopsis. Oh, also, this is gonna be a shorter episode. My notes barely span 2 pages. It's mostly 1 page, to be honest. Spacing makes it 2 pages. So this is gonna be a shorter one. Yeah, not because like I didn't like it, or there weren't things that stood out to me. Just it was good. It was good, and I don't want to spoil too much. Okay. Synopsis time. So the synopsis is in spring 2000. This is one I found online. In spring 2006, Shin So-lee is a 17-year-old high school student. She has loved Cha-hun. She calls him Honi. Yeah. Cha-hun for a long time. Cha-hun is her classmate and also a childhood friend, and they're neighbors. They happen to live next door to each other. I got ahead of myself. They're neighbors. Shin So-lee tries to express her feelings to him, but it doesn't go well. It's based on a Chinese drama that came out a few years before the show did, and the Chinese drama was adapted from a web novel, which is like an online book. Think like AO3, but not AO3. It's just a novel that was published online. And it was a Chinese novel, and then a Chinese drama came out, and then this Korean drama is based on the Chinese drama. Yeah, that's it. It's just the love story between a girl and a guy, starting in high school, like a little towards the end of high school, and then that you follow them until they become like, were they fully adults? Yes, until they become like fully adults. You follow their like love story. Until then. And it was cute. It was nice. It was a nice, like, refreshing thing that I got to watch. It wasn't super boring. It still kept me pretty hooked. But it wasn't something that, like, gave me any stress, really. It was nice. It was really, really nice. This is no spoilers, but you know the first episode, especially if it's a short episode, the whole first episode is fair game. But I will say that, like, you can't really spoil anything because it's just a typical drama. It hits all the beats, it's predictable, it's easy, and it's fun. It wasn't boring, but it was still, like, predictable and easy, and, like, it was just, like, a fun, easy watch. I love shows like that, especially when I've just come from something that was, like, more intense and very much, like, it's not bad when I don't get obsessed with the show because I need breaks, right? We all need breaks. We all need times to not be delusional and super attached to something that we don't need to be attached to. But sometimes you get attached to a show. I was very attached to True Beauty, very obsessed. And so it was nice to have kind of like a palate cleanser in between. And that's what this was. It was really refreshing is like the best way that I would say. Like that's the best word to describe the show. It was very refreshing and easygoing. It was easy to watch and it was just like, like it felt nice after I watched an episode. Even the dramatic moments, like they weren't super intense. They weren't lingered on for too long either. Sometimes shows make the mistake of like because a moment isn't dramatic enough, because like in the story it didn't need to be super dramatic, they'll linger on it to make it feel, they're like, oh, it'll make it feel more tense. It doesn't. It just makes it boring and drawn out. It doesn't make it more dramatic. Or it's like, oh, this is unnecessary. Like, why are we talking about this and lingering on this for so long? The show doesn't do that. It's like the show knows what it is, and because of that, it's really good. It doesn't linger on the dramatic moments for too long. The dramatic moments aren't super, super intense. It's not like someone died and your father murdered your lover's mother. And like, you know, like K-dramas, they'll get crazy. They get intense. And I love them for that. But also sometimes I need a little palate cleanser. I need something refreshing and something that's easy to watch. This was that. It had dramatic moments. They weren't super dramatic and heavy, and they didn't linger on them for too long, and so it didn't feel, it wasn't like it didn't keep my attention, but it was like like I could just relax when I watched the show. And that was nice. It's very fast paced. It's very bingeable. I think that's part of why it didn't get boring, even though it didn't linger or have super dramatic moments. Because it's so fast paced and it's so bingeable. Like it's like little snack, like little bite sized moments. Like it was. I just liked it. Some parts were definitely slow, but because the episodes were so short and they moved through the story so quickly, it didn't feel like it was so slow to the point where I was like, I can't watch this anymore. Like I need to stop. Or I was like, I need something to do during this. Granted, was I working out while I was watching this? By working out, like my workouts aren't like crazy intense or anything, and a lot of it's like walking on a treadmill. So it's nice to have something to watch while I do that. But walking on a treadmill isn't like sometimes when I start to get bored in a show, like while I'm watching a show, I'll do like I'll fold paper stars or I'll fold paper cranes or like I'll do something else while I'm watching. That's when I know like, oh, this is a really slow moment. I didn't have any of those moments. I didn't feel like I needed to be doing something else while I watched the show to keep my body occupied. Because I didn't just watch the show while I worked out. I also watched it while I was like sitting by myself in the living room and I wanted to watch something. Like I had moments where I was just watching that and not working out. So it's not like I only worked out during it. But it's not a show where you need to, because it's so fast paced. The episodes are so short, so it feels like it's going even faster. The story is like nice and moves along. And that's one of the things that I like when shows are predictable but not in a way that's boring, is like even though it was really fast paced, it could have been confusing because it was so short and so fast paced, but it wasn't because it follows all of the typical like K drama, Chinese drama story beats that like there's not really a moment to get confused. There's not really a moment where like you could become confused because it's following such like a formulaic thing. Not in a way that's boring, but in a way that's like comforting, familiar, and because it's so fast paced, you're not going to get super bored with it. That was really, really nice. I really enjoyed that quite a bit. Because the show is based off a Chinese drama that was based off of a book, I think that they included, and I liked this, they included timestamps for when they were moving through the, because we follow this couple, we follow them from like the beginning until like in high school, like in school, until they're in their adulthood. So it's a long time period to span. I think the show was 24 episodes and they're each a half hour each. Or is it 30? No, it's not 30. I don't think it's 32. I think it was like 24 episodes. They're each a half hour each, so it's like about 12 hours worth of stuff. But we're moving through it fast, right? So because we're moving through material so quickly, and because it's based off of, I find that a lot of Chinese dramas that are based off of a book will do this. Well, they'll have like a text, and the title will be like chapter whatever, and it'll be like the title of the chapter, and it's because it's based off the book. So I think the timestamps were a part of, probably because of that, but also because we're moving through such a large distance, like we're going through such a big span of time that we need to know kind of where we're at in the timeline of things. So they would include for this show. I haven't watched the Chinese drama yet. It's on my list because I think it's also, I watched this on Netflix. You could probably watch it other places, just like most things. I think the Chinese drama might also be on Netflix. If it's not, it's probably on Viki, which I also have. But I think it is, or at least it used to be. I feel like I've definitely seen it on Netflix. I'd like to watch the other one, so I don't know how that one's set up because I haven't seen it yet. I don't know if they do the timestamps too. I don't know if they're also half hour or they're longer, because sometimes I find that Chinese dramas are either half hours with a lot of episodes or an hour with a lot of episodes. Like a lot of them are very, very long. So I don't know if that's how it went for this one. I don't know. I don't know anything about the Chinese version of this, which was kind of the original version of this. I don't know anything about it. But this one included timestamps, so we knew like it included. I don't think it included the day, but it included the month and the year, and then also it also included like I think the age, so it would be like summer of 17 or fall of 20, or like the season and the age they were. Did it include the month and the year? Maybe it didn't. Maybe that's all it said. No, I think it did both. I think it did both. I think I'm not 100% sure, but I think it did both. Um They really tried their best to make sure you knew kind of where you were at in the storyline. I don't think it really even jumped around a lot. I think it did a little bit from time to time, but not a ton. But it was still nice to know kind of where we were at. It was a really nice gesture, a really nice idea to make sure that the viewer was not confused. However, towards the end, I don't know if it's like again, I don't know the Chinese drama, so I don't know if they had hour-long episode, like maybe it's also 24 episodes, but they're an hour long, or I don't know how they did it. I haven't looked into that. I just know that the drama exists, and it's been on my list of ones that I've wanted to watch. I just haven't gotten to it yet, and then I ended up watching this first because I saw it first. Don't know how it was done there, but towards the end of the Korean version of this drama, it started moving very fast, incredibly fast, like in terms of time jumping, which I get. I just feel like they should have gotten 36 episodes for this. 36? 32, not 36. 32. 32, because usually Korean shows tend to be 16 episodes, and so if it had been 32 half-hour episodes, you can do math. 32 half-hour episodes would be the same as 16-hour episodes. 16-hour episodes are the usual. Again, don't know what the Chinese drama did because I haven't looked at it. I'm not going to say this again because I keep repeating myself. I feel like maybe they rushed a little bit the second half of how things were going because a lot of stuff was skipped over. Could you skip over and it still made sense? Absolutely. The story was not lost, but we were just moving through time so fast that I didn't know where we were at, even with the timestamps, because we were moving so fast through the timeline of things. I was like, wait, where were we in the last episodes? Like I was getting confused. I knew obviously we were moving ahead in time because we were moving forward as the whole show went along. But I was like, I don't know where we're at. I don't know where we're at right now. I don't know what time we're at. I don't know how old she is in comparison to how old she was when this last thing happened. So that was confusing. It was a very nice gesture. It didn't work for me at the end. It could have been a me thing because, again, I was working out at times. Not that I wasn't giving it my full attention, but I wasn't because I was working out. But I don't know. Maybe it's probably just a me thing that I couldn't keep track of it. So then it was made some things a little confusing in terms of like character development because it was like, why is she still upset about this thing that happened a few years ago? It's like, oh no, actually it said months ago, but I read it wrong. The acting was fine. It was fine, especially considering like how limited their time was in terms of like how long the episodes were and how much dialogue there was in it. I feel like there wasn't a ton of dialogue in this. A lot of it was like sequences and a lot of like movement things or like what are they called? Montages. I think a lot of like I feel like dialogue was actually quite limited. Like even though the show was very short, the dialogue did not take up like the majority of it. It like I feel like when shows are short like that, sometimes the dialogue takes up like 95% of it and then 5% is like non-dialogue parts. I feel like this was more of like a 80-20 or like a 70-30 split. Like the dialogue wasn't a ton, maybe even less than a 70-30. So I'm not gonna like say like, oh, the acting was awful. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad by any means. It was just like, it was fine. It was good. It was good enough. It did what it needed to do. I did really like how bubbly the female lead, Shin So Lee, the actor for that is So Ju Yeon. I really liked how bubbly she was. She was very, very bubbly. Like, I don't know if that's who she is as just a human. It kind of seemed like it in some of the behind the scenes that I saw, but like, I don't know for sure. I didn't like really dig into it. But I liked how bubbly she was as this character. But she was bubbly, but she didn't lose the emotional moments that she had because she's a female lead and she's like the main person of the story. Like we're focused on the girl, and she had a lot of like she had to have ups and downs because she's the main character. But even though she was so bubbly, she didn't lose the serious moments, the harder moments, the emotional moments. Like I still took her seriously in those moments, even though she was so like she's really bubbly and goofy. Like that's how the character is. You don't want to lean too far one way or the other because you want to keep the essence of the character, but you still want to realistically portray these other emotions that they're going through when they're going through a hard time. Just think about like real people in your life. You might know someone who's like very bubbly and bright, but it doesn't mean that they don't go through hard times in their life and they're going to have moments where they feel down or they'll get angry or they'll get scared. They go through all those moments too. Like they're not like a robot, you know? Characters are the same way. but more extreme, right? Because the emotions that they're portraying, usually portraying on screen, is more extreme. While this drama didn't have incredibly dramatic, crazy moments like some other dramas do, it still had moments that were emotional and emotionally charged, and it still needed to have those moments. And she kept her bubbliness without losing the human aspect. And so, like, she didn't go cartoon with it. She kept it in a like nice sweet spot where it was very bubbly, very fun, very goofy, but she could still have moments and it still felt real and I still took her seriously. That was nice. Um Especially I really liked the acting for the male lead, Cha Hon's character. Did I not write his name? I can't believe I didn't write this. Oh, no, it's up here. Kim Yo-han. He apparently, this is the first time, from what I looked up, this is the first time that like he acted on something like this and he was the lead. That's really impressive. The first thing that I ever acted in like professionally, I have one line and it was a friend who was like the producer and running the show that I was on. So yes, I got in a nepotism, but like friend nepotism, I guess. But like I got in and I had this like one small part, but it was a big set. It was for Netflix, so it was a big production. Like there were trailers, there were some like pretty big names on the show. Like I interacted with some, and they were cool. I interacted with some really great people who have a lot more experience than I do and have done a lot more projects than I've ever done. Um, and even that was like terrifying. And I had one line. I had a single line. Like I'm not even in it for a minute. I'm in it for like 30 seconds maybe. Um and this kid, this dude, it's his first time acting in something like this and he's the lead. Like it's very impressive. It's scary to be on a big set and then when you're the lead or the female lead or the male lead or the love interest or whatever, like that's a big part to play in something and you kind of have to take on almost a leadership role. And so it was impressive. I was very impressed. His character is pretty one note. Like there's a couple of snippets of him being very loving or him getting jealous or more emotional. He did really great as the lead for a show with it being like his first time. Like good job. Good for you. Like it's very impressive. I was very impressed. And again, it's not like any of the acting was bad or even like lackluster. Like it wasn't like it was just like it was good. It was fine. It's not like I feel like the show in comparison to some other shows that I've seen, I feel like this show didn't have like it wasn't super demanding in terms of acting ability, but it's still acting in front of a camera and that's hard no matter what. So the fact that it was like his first time doing this and he like did so well and it was a lead role, like it's very impressive. Very, very impressive. I also really liked um I didn't write his name down. Sorry, buddy. The actor who played Woo Dae-sung, which is the second male lead in the show, he did a great job with not making anything feel forced, both with like his character. Does this happen in the first episode? I don't know if it happens in the first episode, but again, it's kind of hard to spoil this show. You know that there's gonna be a little love triangle happening in this. It's a typical cliche K-drama thing. When his character comes in, they become friends very, very quickly. Like he immediately is like, "Hey, we're gonna be friends." Like when they meet, but the way that it like happened, it still felt like it didn't feel forced. It still felt like good, um, and it could have been really uncomfortable. Like the way that their relationship plays out, I realized like it's kind of a spoiler, but kind of not. I don't know. Um, the way that their relationship plays out could have been very uncomfortable, and the fact that they become friends so fast and he kind of like not pushes himself on her, but like kind of is immediately like he latches onto her very fast. I think is the better way to put it. Those moments could be very, very uncomfortable, but the actor playing it didn't play it in a way that it came off as uncomfortable. And obviously, the actor So Ju-yeon, who plays Shin So-lee, our female lead, like obviously she's a part in that too. But Woo Dae-sung, the actor who plays Woo Dae-sung, did a good job of making sure he didn't come off as like creepy or too much or scary. Um, and it could have if he'd taken the acting in a different direction, that character very much could have easily come off as like creepy and too much and pushy and scary and someone that's like gross, right? But he didn't. Is he good looking and cute? Yeah, he's pretty cute. Does that help? Yes. But also you can have someone who's very good looking and they can come off as very horrifying and awful in a show if they want to. And so he did a good job of not doing that, because that's not what the character needed. Was the acting a little bit stale in some parts? Sure. Like, there's some moments, like, when it got a little more emotional where I was like, oh, we could have gone a little further with that. But it didn't take me out of the show. Like, these are things that I probably noticed because I'm an actor myself. Like, the average viewer who doesn't have a ton of knowledge about acting or isn't really looking for stuff like that probably won't notice it. So it's not a big deal. I never wanted to quit watching the show. It wasn't like the acting ever took me out so much that I was like, oh, I'm done. Like, it was fine. It was good enough for what it was. It was what it needed to be, and it was good, especially with like how little time they had to like show off kind of their acting chops. Like, it was good. I liked it. My very favorite thing, without spoilers, is I love the behind the scenes that they did at the end. The very, very end was a bunch of behind the scenes moments. It was so cute. I love seeing the actors. I don't know if it's just a me thing because I am an actor and I love watching that stuff, but I don't think it is, because a lot of dramas, like, you see people seeking out the behind the scenes because they kind of still want to be in that world or kind of see like how that world came to be. Like, for other shows, like I'm thinking of like Tale of the Nine-Tailed or My Demon. Like, all of these shows, like, they have behind the scenes that they'll show like little snippets of. True Beauty, even, like, I would seek out those, but they're harder to find because sometimes they're like only included on like if there was a DVD release, and then people have to like upload it, and then like they translate it because not everyone speaks Korean, or like they're on YouTube channels and sometimes they don't always caption it and they only leave it in Korean, so I only can half guess what's going on, and that takes some of the fun out of it. A lot of people, I don't think it's just a me thing, a lot of people like to watch the behind the scenes. I like to watch it because it's fun. I like to stay in the world too, but also because I'm an actor, so I like to see like the process of how things went. But I love behind the scenes. I think they're so fun. I think it's fun to see the personalities of actors and to see either how similar or how dissimilar they are to their character. And it's fun either way. Like, it's just nice to watch. It's nice to watch the camaraderie between the actors and the chemistry and their friendships and how that all works. I love watching all of that. A lot of people like watching all of that. So I loved that this drama included a little bit of that at the end. Is there more out there? I don't know. I haven't looked for it. Would I like to watch more if there is more out there? Yeah, I'd love to watch more. I love behind the scenes. I can't get enough. But it was really nice. Like, there's an audience for it. And I think more shows should do that. Even if it's just a little bit, like, and then they end up adding, like, if they have a ton of behind the scenes and then they end up putting it somewhere else, or like actors put it on their channels, or like I know that some companies like the actors belong to, they like to put up the behind the scenes on their own YouTube channels. Like, that's cool, but I feel like the show should have a little bit of it to even say like, hey, there's some behind the scenes here if you want to go, you know, like here's some of it, here's a snippet, here's a taste, you can go find more on your own. Like, they don't need to say that, but like people will like be more drawn to want to go find more on their own if they see a little bit at the end. I just think it's special, and I think people, the more accessible it is, the more people will realize how interesting it is to see the behind the scenes of this stuff. Maybe that's just a me thing because I'm an actor and film person and I know how it works, and I like to see how it works on different sets and in different countries. Maybe it's just a me thing. I don't know in terms of how much I like to see it, but I know that there's at least a decent audience of people who enjoy behind the scenes for various reasons. I think more shows should include it at the end, like during the little end credits. Sometimes shows do like really cute things during the end credits that like are that pertain to the story, and they do it for a reason, and like that's fun and it makes sense. But if you don't have something planned for your show, like just throw a little behind the scenes, put some little crumbs in there, throw a little behind the scenes in there for us. They're fun to watch. People like watching them. Do it during the credits if you're worried that people are gonna lose out on something. I don't know. I really liked that. I thought it was nice. Okay, on to spoiler territory. Now, so click away if you don't want to listen. It's not a lot, I promise, but it's just a little bit. Okay. I don't really get why they did, if you've watched, you know, because it's spoiler territory, the very last episode of the show. I finished the second to last episode of the show, and I'm like, that felt kind of like the ending. How odd. Weird, right? The very last episode, this is in case you haven't watched it and you're just listening to the spoilers because you don't really want to watch it, and that's fine, and you just want to listen to this podcast, which, cool. Don't really know why you would do that, but if you're just doing it because you like to listen to me, that's cool. Whatever. Do what you want. It's your life. Live your life. for context, if you didn't watch the show but you're just listening to the spoilers because you want to, the very last episode of the show is Cha Hon's character. Cha Hon is the character. Is Cha Hon's perspective of like the relationship and everything. It's like mostly they like it. I don't think they filmed anything extra for this. Maybe I can't remember if the very last thing was something new or it wasn't. From what I remember, it's basically they cut together a lot of moments from the show and they just did a voiceover of Hon's voice, Cha Hon's voice, talking about the relationship and how he viewed it, and it was all his perspective. That's what the last episode was. I don't know why they did that. It was like a recap episode, but it was also from his perspective. It was nice. It wasn't bad. Like, it was nice to see and hear. I mean, not really see, because it was footage we'd already seen. But it was nice to hear his thoughts on everything and his perspective on everything. Maybe, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, why did they do that? I don't know if the Chinese drama did it and they took it from that, or if the book does it. Like, I don't know if the book's, the novel, the web novel, if it switches perspectives so you get both, and then I don't know. I should look into that more and see if that's why they did it. But anyway, it's not that it was bad and I didn't like it. I just thought it was an odd place to put it, because like there was a part of me, like, I wanted to finish out the show, one, because I wanted to talk about it, and then two, because like I wanted to finish it. Like, I'm someone who likes to always finish things if I can. Like, I have very few things on my list of things that I've watched that are did not finishes. Like, I try to finish them even if I don't like them, because I don't know, maybe I like the end, or I like to at least, when I start something, I like to know how it ends, which is funny because I'm not someone who likes endings, but I like to know how things end, at least. So I was gonna, but I almost didn't finish the last episode because I was like, is this all just a recap of like what happened? Which it was, and it wasn't, because we still got his perspective on things, so that was nice too. But I just thought it was an odd place to put it as the last episode. If anything, I think it would have been better to put it, because at the end he asks her to marry him. I think it would have been better to put this episode. I think the end, actually, I think the end had something like, I think the very last like 2 minutes had some like a new scene where the two of them talked to each other, so it wasn't his voiceover and his perspective. But everything else, like, I feel like that all could have been done as an episode, with the ending being he asks her to marry him. I feel like we should have seen, I think that's the episode right before the last one. I think that's the second to last episode. We should have seen his perspective and everything that he was seeing. I feel like we should have gotten all of that before he asks her to marry him. I think that would have been a nice setup for that. Obviously we know the whole time that he likes her. Not the whole time, but the end of it, when we're supposed to know he likes her, we know that he likes her. We don't need to see everything from his perspective to know that he wants to marry her and he likes her and is in love with her. We don't need to know his perspective for that, because they've set it up in a way that we already know that. But if they're going to give us his perspective on everything and everything about how he felt, why not give us that before he proposes? I just feel like that would make more sense if we had done it that way. But they didn't. They put it at the very end, which, fine. It's fine. It's not a problem. But it was just like, it just felt like an odd place to put it. So it was something that I didn't really like. It's not that I very much disliked it. It's just that I was like, that's a weird place to put that. We could have moved it earlier, but okay. But the very, very end of the show was very cute. They did a moment where they like full circled it, and like they were in their little, it was cute. I'm not gonna go into it. You go watch it. It was cute. Like, I liked that. It was sweet. I cried. But the lead up to that, like, that could have been its own little ending at the end of the previous episode, and then the previous episode, it could have been like this whole perspective of his leading up to him proposing, cut after he proposes to her. Then the next episode, which is the last episode, could have been everything that happened in the second to last episode, ending with what, and that might sound confusing, but like, we could have flip-flopped some things around, and I feel like it would have worked. It would have made more sense, and it would have flowed better, like, emotionally. But they didn't, and it's fine. It didn't ruin it for me, but it was like one of the things that I was like, didn't really like that. And if I wasn't who I am, I might have skipped that episode, which would have been sad because the ending was very cute. And I also would have missed the behind the scenes stuff. But anyway, that was one of the things I didn't really like. The only other thing I didn't really like was I didn't like how hard to get Soli was playing at the end. It felt almost like unjustifiable until they really spelled out like what she'd gone through to him, with all of the assault that had happened, with all of the hardships she was going through, with her being sick and then getting kicked out and having to move and not making money, and like all these horrible things were happening to her and piling on. And so I understand. And then he left in that moment, not partially on his own accord, also not like it was like circumstances led to him making that decision. Which, did he still make the decision to leave? Yes, so that's on him. But I just felt like she was playing too hard to get with everything that happened. It might just be personal, like it might be a personal thing and a personal thought and like who I am. Like I just personally wouldn't have made the decision. And it also might have been because I felt kind of distanced from everything that had happened to her, because like they had jumped so far ahead in the timeline and I wasn't sure. Like I couldn't like in my brain figure out when things had happened like sequentially and like how far apart things had, like all of those factors could have led to that. And so it might have made sense and it might have been justifiable like story wise. And I just like, it just didn't click with me personally. But that was one of the only other things that I didn't really like was like, I was like, she's playing really hard to get at this point and it didn't make sense to me. But story wise, like I can see how like it might make sense in general. But to me, it just didn't make sense. It was just a personal thing. Yeah. Okay. Spoilers are done. I'm gonna just say whether I recommended it or not and TLDR, and that's it. Again, this is a shorter episode, I know. Sometimes the short ones are nice though, right? Do I recommend this drama? Yes, I do. If you want an easygoing and fast-paced drama, this is for you. It's very cute. It's a bit cliche. It's not anything groundbreaking, but it is super fun. It's a little bit mid, not as mid as some of the other stuff I've watched and talked about, but it wasn't bad, and I didn't feel like I wasted my time watching it. And honestly, like, I think I would go back and rewatch this. Not like right away. Like there are some shows when I really love them, like True Beauty, Extraordinary You, Strong Women Do Bong Soon. Like I rewatched them right away. Like not like within like a month of finishing it, I rewatched it. Strong Women Do Bong Soon I rewatched like 3 times within the span of like a few months, just because of how long it took me to watch it. Because I was watching it with, I was like, Mommy, you need to watch this with me. Nicole, my sister, you need to watch this with me. Like I was like telling everyone they need to watch it with me, and I would rewatch it with them even though I just watched it. Stuff like that, like I'll rewatch right away. This one is a drama that like I think I would rewatch. Like I'd need to give it a little bit of time, but I definitely rewatch it because it was nice. It felt nice. I think after I've forgotten some of the plot a little bit, it'd be nice to rewatch. But again, it's a very predictable plot. If that bothers you, then you might not like it. But if you don't mind that it's a little predictable, and you find comfort in that, then I think you'd like this drama. It's very refreshing and very youthful. So if those are things that you like in dramas, I would definitely recommend this one. Refreshing is definitely like the word, like if I had to pick one word to describe like the experience of watching it, it's refreshing. It was just like nice, refreshing. I felt good after watching it. If you like C-dramas and you haven't seen this, I can't say if you've watched the original C-drama of A Love So Beautiful. I can't say if you've watched that if this is better, because I haven't watched the C-drama version yet, so I can't speak on that. If you haven't watched it though, and you like C-dramas a lot, but you also like K-dramas, I would say give this one a try. If you like the vibe of C-dramas, I don't know how to explain it, but this show has the C-drama vibe. Like even when I saw the picture for it on Netflix, like the promo picture that comes up, I was like, oh, is that a C-drama or a Korean drama? Like I initially thought it was a C-drama. Maybe it's because I got confused because there is a C-drama version of it, and I think it was on Netflix, and it might still be on there, I'm not sure. Maybe I did get confused, so that could be part of it. But like even just the look, the outfits that they wear on the show. Like I'm currently watching a C-drama with my mom right now, and the outfits look very similar to in the Korean drama. Like even though I didn't research it right away, I didn't know right away that it was based off of a Chinese drama that was based off of a Chinese web novel. I didn't know that right away, but when I started watching it, I was like, oh, this kind of feels like a C-drama when I was watching it. Like I didn't even know that it actually was like a remake of a Chinese show that had already happened. So if you like C-dramas and you haven't seen the Chinese version of this, but you're interested in K-dramas and you'd also like to watch a K-drama like what I've described, that's refreshing and youthful, easy to watch and fast-paced, maybe give this one a try. My TLDR, it's not like a groundbreaking thing. Again, this was kind of an easygoing show, but for me, like what I kind of like learned or was reminded of is that like your innocent first love is very beautiful, that your youth can be very beautiful, and that it's okay to reminisce on those feelings and those moments and that time every once in a while. Don't live there, don't live in the past, but like it's okay to reminisce on that every once in a while. And I think we should try our best to let kids be kids. Because I don't really think we do that as much nowadays. I think it's a lot harder to do nowadays. I feel like kids grow up really fast now. And when you think back to your times when you were younger, not even just, I mean, high schoolers are kids, but like even thinking back to like your high school time, your young adult time, even college time, like, I feel like maybe not college, you worry about a lot in college, but like in high school, middle school, elementary school, like you got to have fun and not have to worry about too much. Hopefully, maybe you didn't, but a lot of people got to have fun and have just mess around and kind of not worry about like life and adult things at the time. And I hope that we can provide that space for the youth of our time now, because I feel like we're kind of running out of places for them to just enjoy themselves as younger people. Yeah. But your youth is beautiful. It's a beautiful time. It's okay to reminisce on that. It's okay to grow and be different from who you were at that time, but to also like love and cherish who you were at that time too, even if you're very different now. And also like it just kind of showed like the basic like love and relationships can be really really hard, but it's beautiful and it's worth it. And yeah. Kind of like it's not anything groundbreaking, not anything crazy. It's just like it was just a sweet, easy drama to watch, and so the lesson, what you learn from it, what you take away from it is kind of the same. It's a sweet, easy lesson. It's just like young love is beautiful, your youth is beautiful. It's okay to reminisce on that. It's also okay to dislike who you were and like who you were at the same time. Like it's complicated. Love is complicated and beautiful and hard, but it's worth it. All of those like simple things that you kind of like know, but it's nice to be reminded of. Yeah, that's it for this episode. A little bit shorter, a little kind of rambly, especially in some of the parts. I feel like I rambled a little too much about the timestamps. They bugged me, but they were so helpful and it was a smart idea, but it wasn't. Anyway, I'm not going to keep talking about it. That's it for today. I hope you had a good time watching this and spending your time with me. I hope you have a lovely rest of your morning, evening, afternoon, night, day, week, weekend, whatever it may be for you. And I will see you next time. Thank you so much. Love, Mikaela. Bye.